Do, 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 do. Packing tape. I'm packing tape. Packing material. These are better than packing peanuts. They're pool noodles. And I know what you're thinking. Pool noodles? Why would you use a pool noodle to pack stuff? They don't make any noise. So, when you have silver, and silver, when you put it in a box, sounds like silver. Do we like that sound? Well, yeah, in our pocket maybe, but not in the mail. So, the reason that we want to quiet that down is so that when somebody picks up a box, post office little priority box, and shakes it, doesn't make any noise. Yes, security through obscurity. I preach that shit all the time. I put that shit on everything. Oh, power cord. Power cord. There. There we go. Life is good again. So, what are we going to talk about? We can talk about a lot of different things. I watched a video on YouTube, which means it must be true. And it was talking about Ed Kelly. How are you? It was talking about climate change. How the International Panel on Climate Change has been so amazing. How good they are at what they do. How we need them so desperately to help us survive. Oh, you know what? Oh, look at that. That's the kind of shit a professional would do ahead of time. Yeah, whatever. So I'm working on it. I am working on it. I am trying to find somebody who can teach me how to do all the shit that seems like everybody else in the world can do. So I can talk to you guys, and then I can pull up a screenshot, whoop, make myself small down here in the corner, show you a screenshot, and then make myself big again. It seems like everybody in the world can do that. I know that my now 13-year-old could do that when he was 8. I'm not embarrassed by that. Why would I be embarrassed by that? It's because kids that are still in their single digits can do things I can't do. Why would that be embarrassing to me? I can make fire with sticks. That's the true measure of a man. It's not how big or strong he is. I learned that a long time ago. Yeah, I'm big. I'm strong. But what makes me a man? The fact that I don't listen. The fact that I can make fire with sticks even though nobody cares. The fact that I'll step in front of a bullet for anybody that I love, even though nobody's really shooting bullets in my neighborhood. Yeah. It's weird. I have a skill set that would make me really, really valuable about 200 years ago. Yeah. I still think of myself as valuable. I just, it's not in the same way as, some guy who knows how to code. Although, AI is coming for your job, bro. Hey, I just found something out that's really interesting. People are fucking sick of AI. Little golf clap for us. Yeah, we're getting tired of that shit. We're getting tired of using it. We're getting tired of it telling us what the fuck to do. You sure you want to put a comma there? Let me see. Help Jack off the horse. Help Jack off the horse. Yeah, okay, I'll put a fucking comma there. My way would have been funnier, you know? So, anyway, yeah, it didn't take long because AI is just, I mean, it's people like to do what they like to do. They don't like to be told that what they're doing is wrong. Why do you think our education system is so fucking bad? It's annoying. That's exactly right. It's annoying to be told by somebody who is smarter than you what you should do. Deborah, now you know what it feels like to be a man. To have AI mansplain shit to you. Don't like it, do you? Girls, you gotta think about that. What are we, 3 minutes into my live stream and I've already pissed off 35% of my audience? My audience is a little heavily weighted towards men. I will admit that. Over 35, but it's almost 50-50. It's like 60-40. And it's almost entirely over 35. Kids these days, they have the attention span of a tsetse fly, so they can't really hang with us. But that's okay. I don't mind. It's not like I really give a fuck what they think anyway. Well, first of all, you'd have to assume they're thinking. And if you see the way they act, no, not so much. I'd love to give them a little more credit. I mean, I will say one thing about them. I will say one thing. Why, Teresa? I will say this about the Generation Z. They are the most cynical son of a bitches I've ever met. Men and women. The boys and the girls are all very cynical. And that's going to come in very handy. That might make them the best voters ever. Because they don't believe shit. They don't believe anything. Like, I guarantee you that when Thomas Massey lost, they were like, yep, told you. Me? I was steaming. I was so pissed. Yeah, but it probably didn't surprise them at all. So, yeah, I'm trying to learn how to use some software. I got to find some software that I can use to do live streams so that I can make my head big and then make my head small. Because my head's already big. That's fat, not large necessarily. Dense, yes. There's really no way to weigh your cranium specifically because your neck, and mine's actually 20 inches around. My neck, not my head. My head's much larger than that, which is ridiculous. It should have like a moon. But I've never weighed it, but it would be interesting to see just how big and heavy this lump of fat on my shoulders is. There is a way to weigh it, but it only works once. Well, for now. I'm sure in the near future there will be head transplants. Gold statue of the pharaoh, the pharaoh trunk. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. So speaking of which, just so we're clear, 8 pounds. No, I guarantee you it's more than that. Wouldn't that be a body transplant? Well, that really depends on how arrogant your brain is. I mean, my brain is probably, I'm going to say from the neck up, I'm probably 25 or 30 pounds of fat. And then the rest of me is 300 pounds of fat. Wouldn't you go with the larger amount? Like my body is getting the fat head well, maybe not, I guess it really, what it depends on is where your soul resides. Where is your soul? Is it in your mind or is it in your heart? Is it in your right foot? Some people say it's in your knees. Nobody actually says that. I made that up. Anyway, Trump said that the war is not on, but it's not off. He sent out a cartoon, which is how the president of the United States communicates now. The press office has all been sent home forever. I don't think we have a press secretary anymore, do we? Is it still that hot chubby chick? Because I've seen her in a bikini. Damn. She's stacked. That's a fact. I would let her lie to me all day long, really, about pretty much anything. I mean, she does anyway. Okay, let me rephrase that. I would love it if she lied to me alone in a bikini or out of a bikini, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Recognize this? She's on maternity leave. Not me this time. Okay, just so you know, I got five of them. And that one's not mine. I would remember her. Does anybody remember these? These used to actually buy stuff. Oh no, don't tell me she's got some old, like, 60-year-old husband. Wait. Hey, 60 is not that old. Anyway, do you guys remember when this was good for something other than wiping your ass or blowing your nose? Although it doesn't really, it's not very absorbent, so it actually doesn't make very good ass wipe. I'm not going to tell you whether or not I've tried. I just know from experience it doesn't work very well. I'm sure there's probably a rapper out there who has made a song about wiping his ass with hundreds. So we could just ask him. Yeah, so these used to actually buy stuff. Well, one of them would actually buy stuff. Now, I think it takes a lot of these to buy stuff. A lot. I remember when this, let me make sure I've got that pointed in the right direction. There. Boop. That's a quarter. There's a good. See, that's a quarter. That's George Washington. See, I cannot get a bottle of water anymore. I mean, you can get one of the little 18-ounce versions, but I remember when you get a gallon of water, no problem. Gallon of water, no problem, 89 cents, just a few years ago. Now it's $1.50. And I was like, I just went the other day because I buy bottled water, big, huge bottles of spring water, because I got a cooler. Because why not have a cooler and have 10 extra bottles? Remember, I'm preparing, just in case, for those of you who cannot see, there, that blue tub behind me, that is a water barrel. Yes. So I not only do I have big 55-gallon water barrels that are full of water with a tiny, tiny bit of bleach. Just 8 drops per gallon. That's all you need. So a gallon, you could probably purify, let's see, how many drops in a gallon? I don't have the slightest idea. So let's just not even do that. But a lot. A shitload. That is a safe estimate. You can purify a lot. You ordered my book last week. Awesome. Finally got the whole thing done for the printers, and now they're going to start printing it tomorrow. So you'll have your book shortly. I'm very excited about this. By the way, we went with, this Nerd Paradise here, Isaac Asimov. It's not this big. It's disorganized much. I had a tape measure. Must have moved it. Yeah, the tape measure. I was measuring my kid. He just turned 13, and he's just over 5'10", barefoot. God damn. The good news is he weighed when he was 5'7", he weighed 185 pounds. He's 5'10", he weighs 183 pounds. He's getting there. He's getting tall, he's slimming out. If there was no order, you will be a one-man army. There's no order. No. You mean order for my books? Or just no order at all, like the breakdown of society, the grid collapses, which will happen in your lifetime. So when I say that, I think that maybe if I weren't me, if I didn't have all of the years of experience studying climatology, studying solar science, studying the grid, studying all the different things that are going on, I might think that sounded fucking stupid or crazy. Oh, you're one of those idiots. Look, my life has been tempered by something very interesting. Okay, I remember, and nobody said this movie title out loud for probably 30 years minimum, probably 40 years, but it's much older than that. How much older, I don't know. The World According to Garp. I believe it was a book that was turned into a movie with Robin Williams. And I remember just catching like a little bit of the end of it. And I don't even remember it that much. I was very young, but I do remember thinking to myself, this guy's prepared for like the world to come to an end, or I don't know, world nuclear war or something like that. And it's not going to happen. It's like he wasted his life. Like, God damn, dude, you could have been out surfing. You could have been chasing girls, guys, whatever. I don't judge. You could have been having fun, having medical margaritas, doing your thing. But instead, you decided to prepare for the end of the fucking world. What are you, stupid? I look at it that way. I look at these preppers who have, it's like, what do I want for my birthday? I want the same shit I had, for the last 3 birthdays. An AR with an ACOG on it, match grade, barrel. Why? Well, because if you've already got 15 ARs, why not get 16? And then why not have an additional 1,000 rounds of ammo? Which, why I don't, what's the point in that? Who knows? But yeah, I see these guys, and it's like if the world doesn't really come to an end, then they've wasted their life. They've pissed away their entire lives praying for something ugly and really, really catastrophic to happen, and it didn't happen, and therefore they didn't get to be special. I don't want to be that guy. That's not what I'm looking for here. What I want is I want to do all the fun shit that everybody else wants to do. But while I'm doing that, I want to make sure that I have just a little bit of insurance. Well, what's what's a little bit of insurance? What does that mean? I'm thinking about numbers right now. I'm thinking about money. All right, let me put it to you this way. If I told you that I could make sure that your family is really safe and that you have no about, but it's going to cost you probably a couple $1,000, maybe hours, not all in a row. 100 hours is nonstop of doing something. As you know, 40 hours is work, but you know, how about 2 hours a day or an hour a day for a few months until you were in a position where if something really bad happened, that's no problem. Like, yeah, is it uncomfortable? Of course it's gonna be uncomfortable. Are you mentally prepared for it? Yeah. You have to understand something. There are a lot of guys out there. It's exactly what it is. It's protection fees that you're paying yourself, and it's life insurance in a way, but it's mental health insurance also because there will be a day, and I'm not guessing this. I'm telling you because I should fucking have a class. That's what I should do because when you hear my reasoning for taking this very seriously, and you hear all of the reasoning that 15, 20 years, you go, oh, well, fuck, now that you put it that way, it sounds absolutely inevitable. It is. It's inevitable. Our grid will fail. That's a fact. The grid will fail. Now, some of you might say, well, yeah, the grid fails all the time. A little bit here, a little bit there. I mean, in Europe, they measure how long you're without electricity per year by minutes. So, how many minutes were you out of electricity last year? Well, of course, if you know anything about the United States, our weather can be quite spicy here. So, with tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and all that shit, we measure in days. How many days were you without as opposed to minutes? And that's not necessarily the fault of utility companies. Now, when the power goes out because a utility company didn't go out and cut back trees for 20 years on one of their main 750 kilovolt distribution lines because they're fucking lazy. They didn't want to waste money on maintenance. That is absolutely is their fault. The town of Paradise, California, it absolutely disappeared over a weekend. That was absolutely no question Pacific Gas and Electric's fault. I mean, obviously, when you see something like the Julia Roberts movie, Aaron, what's face? Well, yeah, it's PG&E's fault. PG&E is they're disgusting. Then energy companies are, you know, the Duke Energy. Oh my God, Aaron Brockovich, thank you. Duke Energy back east. Wow, wow, a legacy of absolute destruction. What a horrible, horrible group of human beings. I can't imagine what old man Duke himself was like, but he must have been down to the Antichrist because wow, whenever they were not these guys are raised for 30, 40 years while they're working in energy coal mines, and then they'd go on strike and they'd hire people to shoot them, kill them, beat them to death, or you know, harass the shit out of them, men, women, and children. It's like this is a guy who's a billionaire. He's harassing people who literally eat Kraft mac and cheese out of a box 4 times a week out of necessity. And no, they don't use butter. They use margarine. Ugh. Boy, most of the people on my live stream are way more educated than this. But if you're eating margarine, stop now because you'll die from it. I mean, hydrogenated anything will kill you. And margarine was designed to replace butter for peasants a long time ago, over 100, I think like 150 years ago. And what they wanted something that poor people could spread on bread in the morning because that's all they could have for breakfast. Keep in mind, it was real bread back then. So a loaf that weighed like 4 pounds. But they take a couple thick slices of bread, they slap some butter on it, and that's all they have. And you know what? You can get by. You can make a day's worth of work, or at least a morning's worth on that. Real quick, it says here I have an error on more than one ingestion is using the prior URL. Ingestion. I thought to ingest something was to eat it, to put it inside of you. Send one stream to the primary ingestion URL and one stream. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. This is really strange. Anyway, why do I say something crazy like that? Anyway, yeah, margarine is designed to keep poor people going all morning. Give them something something other than butter, because obviously rich people like butter too, and if rich people like it, then no, you can't have it. And yeah, I'm into the point in my life now where I'm truly beginning to hate the rich. And yes, I have been rich a couple times in my life. Have I ever been a billionaire? No. Have I been a multi-millionaire a couple times? Yes. Will I be again? Accidentally, yes. What I mean by that is, if people want to buy my book, if people want to participate in my streaming, etc. And because of that, I have income coming in. Great, then yes, I will be in spite of myself. Still funny feeling that once a few of you actually read the book, once we get these out, begin to this coming week, tomorrow. Yeah. Even though everything's closed tomorrow, but on Tuesday. That's disgusting. But yeah, once we get the book in your hands, I specifically made it. I want to say 7x5, 5x7. Shit. 7x9. Anyway, it's smaller than small. Look, it's smaller than this as far as size. And the reason I did that, the reason I wanted it smaller was I wanted it to be able to fit in a pocket. Like if you've got a cargo pocket, put it in a backpack, that sort of thing. So when it comes out, it'll be small enough that you can fit it inside of whatever you're carrying, whether it's a backpack, a purse, whatever. You can tell us why we are going to suffer from. Yeah, actually, a couple things. And, this is I'm gonna have to hire somebody. I have to hire somebody that is more organized when it comes to this sort of thing. I don't have to practice this, but um, I need to hire somebody who's organized at writing shit down. I've had my memory for so long, and I'm so dependent on it that I don't organize things like that. So if you ask me a specific question, typically I can just shoot you an answer, pretty much regardless of what the fuck the subject is. It's bound around in somewhere. But when it comes to putting it all together, uh, it helps me to have somebody that I can bounce this shit off of. Because then they'll, at some point, they'll go, wait, how did you get there? I mean, what do you mean? They go, well, you were talking about this, and we got all the way to these phases, and then we jumped here. And I go, let me back up. Because but one of the things that would be the reason we will absolutely lose the power grid, the 800,000 pound transformers, the step down transformers that we use from 750 kilovolts down to size a transformer station for, let me give you an example. There's a few of them in Phoenix, Arizona for 5 million people. When we step those down, that's a very large transformer. They are only made in two places in the world, in Germany and in South Korea. We used to make them here a long time ago. We, of course, quit doing that for whatever the fucking reason. Stupidity, arrogance, I don't know. Avarice. They are incredibly difficult to move. 800,000 pounds. How many trucks do you know that can carry that? A few in the country. Like literally, when they moved one, the last time they moved one, I watched a dozen years ago or so. They moved one from California, from the port of Los Angeles, out here. And as they were bringing it out, it had two huge semi trailers that it was balanced in the middle of, almost like a bridge. And 18 wheelers had dozens of wheels. They weren't 18. They might have 18 wheels per trailer. And they had this enormous rig at the front that pulled it. And they had to go up and around all of the overpasses because it wouldn't fit under any of the underpasses between here and LA. So they had to shut down one side of the only highway that runs directly from here to LA, the 10 freeway. They had to shut down one whole side of it to use that for bringing it out here. And they could open it up again. Those take years to get delivered. If you order one right now, the reason that is such a big deal is because the average, the lifespan of one of those is supposed to be 40 years. They're designed to last for 40 years. Almost every single one of the 9,000 of them around the United States is over 40 years old. They're all way past their due date. They are waiting to fail. Now, what happens if they fail? Well, if you have one go dark, then what happens is the next one over will pull power and reroute. And they'll do that very scientifically. It's not some, idiot going, oh, I guess I'll put it here. No, it's the computer systems, the algorithms are very advanced. Their only limitation is they can only pull so much power. Now, right now, when it's summertime and in Phoenix, Arizona, and it hits 120 degrees, 118 degrees, which it does regularly, I'm amazed. I am absolutely amazed at our electrical companies because, they are just absolutely running at 100%, sometimes 110% capacity. They are running these things as hard as they can, pushing every one of these transformers, every one of these stations, substations are going just balls to the wall. And remember, what's the enemy of electricity going through copper lines, or in this case, aluminum and copper, steel, stainless steel and copper, whatever? It's heat. Heat builds resistance. No, Trump knows this. Trump is, believe it or not, as much as I think that we lost it somewhere, he lost the plot in the last year, but he has actually signed a bill to do some hardening. Now, what does that mean? Hardening the grid? Well, you're talking about a project as big as the CCC at the height of the Depression, where the president signed something that said, "Put them all back to work." All of them? Fuck all of them. We'll put there's millions of men out of work. I don't give a fuck. Put them all back to work. What are we going to build? Everything. I mean, you have to understand, in Arizona, if you go outside the city, it's a desert. There's nothing out there. However, there are projects out in the desert, out in the middle of fucking nowhere in the hills, where you come across a campground and there are these polished cement tables, polished cement benches, and beautiful polished cement outhouses. I mean, the restrooms are still there in one piece. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They're not graffitied. They're not screwed up. Nobody's trying to destroy them. And you look around, you're like, why did they spend so much money to build this? You don't realize it's 100 years old. It was built during the Depression. It was one of the thousands of projects that Roosevelt said, go build something. Look, country needs work. We got to figure out something. Put them back to work. Build everything. Build dams, build roads, build bridges, build campgrounds. I don't give a fuck. Pave the whole Western United States with freeways. I don't care. But make everybody back to work. It worked. It actually worked. You know, people, like men who would normally be standing in the bread line looking at their shoes, felt like, hey, you know what? I'm earning a paycheck again. They felt like, hey, it mattered. They did. So could we do something like that? Yeah, it would have to be the number one priority of the United States. It can't be. It absolutely cannot be. You have to understand that at this point, if you put everybody back to work rebuilding infrastructure of the United States, that means that you are going to have to tell all of the War Department to just take a back seat. The military industrial complex does not take a back seat. Ever. Period. You want 5 or 6, 9 here? Tell them to take a back seat. You want false flags every Tuesday? Tell them to take a back seat. We will have enemies coming out of every hole in the United States because they're not going to say, okay, we'll stop making bombs. We'll stop making $100,000 in profit per second. Every second, every minute of every hour of every fucking day. They're not going to do that. Right now, military industrial complex is the United States of America. It's all we are. It's all we stand for. Period. That's it. That's all we got. Now people are like, well, we got AI. Well, yeah, AI is to support the military industrial complex. We're going to turn into China like that. So, it's extremely bad. And here's why. If if nine, now when I say this, just let me, and this is why it's so important to learn how to do this, and why I'm so sort of disappointed in myself for not doing this correctly yet. What I'm looking at right now is a PDF. Let me click on it. I'm all the way at the end. I read it again. Report to the Commission to assess the threat to the United States from electromagnetic pulse EMP attack, critical national infrastructures. This report was done in April. Well, it was turned in April of 2008, and it was done by the Electromagnetic Pulse Commission, approved for public release. Dr. John Foster, Mr. Earl, whatever, something looks Northern European, Dr. William Graham, Chairman, Dr. Robert Sherman, General Richard Lawson, USAF, Dr. Gordon something, Dr. Lowell something, Dr. John Woodward. I mean, these are all people who are specialists in this, and they came up with this 180 pages, and it talks about what the vulnerabilities are exactly, what it takes to fix them, and what it could mean. Like, what does this mean, EMP? Because obviously there are several kinds of EMP. First of all, there's a solar flare, just a burst of electromagnetic energy. There's a coronal mass ejection, which is an enormous amount, hundreds of trillions of tons of superheated plasma that get shot through space, like when you see somebody sneeze and it's backlit, you're like, whoa, I didn't realize all that came out when you sneeze. That's why you cover your mouth. In ancient Europe, they covered their mouth so that evil spirits couldn't get into your soul while you were sneezing. That's why they say God bless you. But my point is that when you see this stuff when the sun sneezes, the stuff that's coming at us is superheated plasma. When it gets to the ionosphere, it creates holy hell on the Earth's atmosphere. It overloads our entire planet with so much energy that the chain reaction that sets off above us on the Earth's surface and underneath the Earth's surface. Because remember that when you look at the Earth and you see all these lines that go into it that are our electromagnetic shield, well, that electromagnetic shield, all of the superheated plasma that comes to us goes in. Some of it will actually push down to the point where if it's close enough, if there's enough of it, it hits us hard enough, it will actually push down to where it will arc with the planet itself. Now that's a solar flare we never want to see. In our lifetimes, in our children's lifetimes, in probably the lifetime of our species, we don't want to fucking see that one, because those are what the ancient myths refer to as the thunderbolts of the gods. That is when the solar energy gets close enough, pushed down on the ionosphere, and get close enough to the Earth, it actually arcs, and you see thunderbolts that it's not like lightning that you see now, where you see it crackle and ooh, wow, that was intense. And even if it hits, I had that happen once in the South. I was in Alabama. I stopped at a light, and they hang the lights in the middle. They don't do them on poles like they do here. They hang them in the middle. And I looked up at the light just as lightning hit it, and this bright blue white light. I was instantly blinded by it. It was this enormous thunderclap, And thank God, I was in a car with the window up, but still, it just, the explosion, the sound of it, and then the sparks flying everywhere. And as my eyes adjusted, I was like, holy shit, that was crazy. It's pouring rain, it was dark. I thought, okay, now I get it. Because before that, it to me was in theory, I've never been that close to a lightning strike before. So that lightning strike really gave me an idea because the lightning strikes that you would see from an X100, an X200, an X500 solar flare, something that size, the lightning would be 1,000 times when you see lightning hit the ground. And therefore, obviously, if you look at like the African soccer team that was on the field and it was raining and the field got struck by lightning and it killed half the players instantly. And I thought to myself, wow, that's just a normal lightning strike. What happens when these thunderbolts of the gods, which thank God they're extremely rare, what happens when they hit a continent? I mean, does it kill everything within the radius of, say, Texas? It could. It makes perfect sense that it would. You're talking about an amount of electricity that is hard to even comprehend. So, well, I mean, you really touch on something that is hard for me because when people talk about God's Son, it's interesting how it's reversed because God was the Son for thousands and thousands of years. Probably hundreds and hundreds of generations of human beings saw the Son as God and probably called it God's Son. Once they realized that the stars, perhaps they realized that the stars were other suns. And so this was our God's Son. Doesn't affect my faith at all. But some people it probably the bottom line is God's Son is very interesting. Yeah. Let me put you this way. In 1859, the Carrington Tent was an X-40. Okay? This is very simple. It's very, very simple. In 1859, our electromagnetic shield for the Earth was at 100% capacity. It's the strongest it can ever be. And there are times where, in the past, scientists have now discovered that our solar shield may have gone down to 5-10% of its normal strength. So in 1859, it was as strong as it can get. And that is really good because what happened was when we got this X-40 solar flare that Carrington was actually looking at through this special telescope, he had a telescope with a filter on so that he could actually look directly at the sun. Trump has those filters apparently in his eyes because he looked directly at the sun from the balcony of the White House and go blind. Bully for him. He saw what happened. He saw the flash. He saw a huge sunspot. He didn't think anything of at that moment. He just thought, interesting. Within a couple of days, though, people again, this is based on where you live, based on your faith, people in San Francisco and New York, this is where you rarely see the Northern Lights. People were taking their children out at night and laying out blankets in the park and looking up at the beautiful light show. Now, in the South, I don't want to, all you Southerners, but in the South, a lot of people were saying it was the end times. It was obviously the apocalypse, second coming, blah, blah. Well, it wasn't. But it was an interesting time because there were people who, for instance, one guy he was interviewed in a local paper. I want to say it was Montana or Idaho, somewhere in there. He got up at 1 o'clock in the morning to get ready. He didn't realize it was 1 o'clock. Remember, clocks back then had to be wound constantly. You didn't have electrical systems. So you had to wind the clock constantly, which meant that you probably only had one clock in the house that you kept all the time. Maybe if you were wealthy, or if somebody you won some big prize, you had a pocket watch, which you had to wind constantly. So the guy got up because the sun was coming up. He went downstairs, made coffee, and started to get his morning going, and then realized by looking at the clock it was 1 a.m. But the sun was coming up. Well, he went outside and realized it wasn't the sun. It was the northern lights. They were so bright that he thought that the sun would come up. This happened all the way down to Cuba. They were seeing the northern lights. When you see aurora borealis in Cuba, that is extremely rare. That is a light show that most people will never see in their lives. It happens maybe once in 100 years. Well, it's happened several times in the last few years. The reason for that is the other reason that I know that in our lifetime the power grid will fail. It's not. I hope it doesn't happen. It's absolutely going to happen, and the reason is they said that you could. I remember reading this. They said you could read a newspaper. Literally, it was so bright you could read a newspaper sitting in your living room in the middle of the night because the aurora borealis was so bright. Here's the interesting thing. After the Carrington event, after 1859, Earth's electromagnetic shield began to fade. Now, what I mean by fade is quite literally going down in strength. Our protective shield is faltering. Now, I don't want people to think, oh my God, we're going to end up like fucking Mars. That's not going to happen. But what was realized, and again, all of this is in the last 50 to 60, maybe 70 years total. After we built the power grid, remember in 1859, we didn't have a fucking power grid. There's no electrical lines, only telegraphs. And they all failed. We just blew out the whole telegraph system, melted the wires, shocked the operators, burned down the telegraph offices. It was like, damn, what was that? People didn't really put two and two together. They didn't understand the correlation. Now we do. And we realize that every looks like 6 and 12,000 years, our Earth's solar shield dims. And that's because the North and South Pole electromagnetic, just the magnetic pole, begins to wander. So that is the North Pole. Geographically. What happened was the North Pole in 1859 was wandering this way very, very slowly, just, inches per year. And then as it got down here, it turned back around and it started going this way. And now it's going across Siberia. It's speeding up exponentially. So now instead of inches per year, it's covering hundreds, if not thousands of meters per year, potentially kilometers per year. And here's the interesting part. Where it's heading for Indonesia. If you follow the line, it's going straight towards Indonesia. Well, that's really weird Indonesia, is that where you have all the huge earthquakes? Same exact location right there. Well, why am I pointing here? If it's moving south, it should be moving all the way down here. No, because you don't know this because nobody in the science community wants to talk about this. But you see this thing called Antarctica? Yeah, there's no South Pole here anymore. The South Pole has moved off of Antarctica and is now moving towards Indonesia. Wait a minute. The the South Pole isn't in where? No, it's not. It literally crept all the way off of Antarctica into the Southern Ocean. It's moving towards the same exact place as the North Pole. Now, look, we all know how magnets work. Okay, stole these from my daughter, although I like Piggy too. But as we know, you can't. Well, wait, what in the hell? Oh, wait a minute, that's weird. Okay, so this one, yeah, see, it doesn't want to go. It's opposite. Wait, how is it doing that part of the time and not all of the time? That's weird. It doesn't want to stay on there. That's really strange. It's a very weak magnet, but you feel it pushing up a little bit, and then of course, well, snapping together when it's opposites. The problem though, if you can't have both of those things end up in the same location. That's impossible. So what does that mean? That means that if it does what it's been doing, I say the poles, if poles keep doing what they've been doing for, oh, let's see, 4.5 billion years now, they're going to keep wandering. Now, at times, they completely flip, completely, permanently, or in our lifetime permanently, in geological time for just a second, and then they flip back. Just a second being 10, 20, 30, 50, 100,000 years. Now, do we have excursions where the North Pole goes down here, wanders around, and then goes, I've seen it in the world, and I'm back. Comes all the time. Last big one that I found that wasn't sort of part of our timeline was 44,000 years ago. And when we added that to the stack, we realized that we had these anomalies every 6,000, 12,000, 18, 24, 30, all the way back to the last ones. And they start to get fuzzy after a long period of time, but 72,000 years, which for those of you who really study this sort of thing, that will wake you up because you go like 72,000 years. That was like Toba. It's a funny thing about these geomagnetic excursions, as we call them. They're not completely pole flips, although the pole could completely flip. Look, south could be north and north could be south. We know that this happened hundreds of times in the past because in lava flows, when the lava is flowing downhill from some volcano somewhere, if the South Pole is pointed on one end or the other, we'll see the way the iron literally sets itself into the lava. So we can see, oh, look, it's pointing this way. That means the South Pole is actually the North Pole. Oh, look, it's pointing this way now, 120,000 years later. Oh, 600,000 years later, it's down here. So right now, we're in a situation where if we have this pole flip, is that catastrophic? Well, yes and no. The full, what they call full cron reversal, which is a complete pole flip, where it flips and stays flipped for thousands or 10,000s of years. Those are almost exclusively extinction events. Now, when I say an extinction event, you have to understand something. Extinction is it's an interesting term. It's a term that's been around a lot lately because they want you to pay more for unicorn fuel and less for cow parts. Um, they've abused the terminology extinction level events, like the fact that 2 degrees Celsius is going to make everything in the world extinct, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Because if you study climatology for any amount of time, you'll look back and see that at the end of the last ice age, or the younger Dryas, temperatures can go up by 18 degrees Celsius over 100 years worldwide. Holy shit! Wow, those are some greenhouse gases. Greenhouse, you say? Where do you grow plants? In a greenhouse. Why? Because there's a lot of CO2. Really? So CO2 is what plants eat, and we're trying to make sure that we don't have too much CO2 in the environment, although they fucking pump CO2 into greenhouses commercially. Huh. It's almost like they don't want us to know. and there are some reasons for that. Number one, if what I'm talking about is true, and it is 100% absolute proven science in some of what I'm saying for over 100 years, it's undisputed. If that's the case, and this is the number one threat to humanity right now, why the fuck are we talking about climate change? The climate has been changing non-stop for 4.5 billion years. The climate has changed so incredibly radically over the last 13,000 years that you can't say what normal is. Most people don't realize 70% of the Earth's entire 4 billion year history is as an ice ball during these enormous climate changes. Now, why is that? Well, it's simple. It's called albedo. Oh, well, what's albedo? Well, it's something that the IPCC did not take into consideration at all, until a year ago when they said, oops, we probably underestimated the albedo effect of cloud cover by 70%. What? Albedo is when there are clouds or snow on the ground, and because it's so light, it literally reflects the sun's radiation back into space and the heat therefrom. What? So, hey, does that mean that the more snow falls, the more snow falls? Yes. So, if an overturning meridional current from the Atlantic, if it stops, we're talking about global warming from that. How? Well, that's completely impossible, and it's just a fucking lie. Pure and simple. The Atlantic overturning meridional current takes warm water up to Iceland and brings ice cold water back down. If it stops, all that warm water stops, which means everything from the middle of Europe up freezes completely, permanently, 100% of the time. That means that all of the heat that's soaked up by Northern Europe on the ground and in the oceans, including the Arctic Ocean, when it's ice free, all of that stops. And all of that heat is bounced straight back into space, dropping the temperature globally by several degrees, leading to ice age. So the movie Day After Tomorrow was dramatic, and it was a fun popcorn movie. When I say popcorn movie, what I mean by that is popcorn tastes good and has no nutritional value. That movie was kind of like that, except what they showed, ironically, or in this case, very unironically, was absolutely the truth, just compressed from 6 months or a year down to a week. It's not going to happen with a super cyclone. That's not how it works. What will happen is over the course of 2 winters, 12 months apart, you go from, oh my God, that winter was insanely bad, to we thought last one was bad. We had no idea that this one would be absolutely cataclysmic for Europe. Northern Canada too, but how many people live in Northern Canada? I could probably count them without taking both shoes off, so it's not a big deal to them. Um, I wouldn't want to live in Norway anymore. If I were in Norway, I wouldn't want to be there, because in modern times, and when I say modern times, in our modern state, 5,000 to 7,000 year time frame, during our history that we're well aware of, nothing like this has happened. And here's another thing for those of you who don't know this is extremely important. The mini ice age. Okay, the sun goes through 11-year cycles where it goes to a maximum, minimum, a maximum, minimum, and during the maximum you see lots and lots and lots of sunspots. During the minimum, you see very few. It basically, it's like the sun takes a little bit of a break, takes a little nap, has lunch, and comes back. Those solar cycles are all different. Some are bigger, some are smaller. The solar cycles leading up to solar cycle 25, the one we're at the end of now, were very big, very big. And strangely enough, the globe warmed up for 50 years. Now, what happens when they get smaller? Because, like, solar cycle 25 wasn't as big as solar cycle 24 back 10, 15 years ago. Well, it's a funny thing. The Earth actually calmed down. The weather calms down a bit. It's cooler. There are actually cycles about that. We call them maximums and minimums. Every 11 years, a maximum and a minimum. And then every 400 years, so far, as far as we look back, 400 years, we get what's called a grand solar minimum. A grand solar minimum, what is that? Tell me more about that, Dad, because that sounds interesting. The last one was in the 1600s, and we call it the Maunder minimum because the couple, the people who watched it very closely, watched the sun, watched the lack of sunspots and all the stuff. A married couple named the Maunders. Back then, scientists were hobbyists. If you were wealthy, you were expected to give back to society, and not like these fucking disgusting creatures now. These I don't even know what to call them. These leeches that make billions and give away a few $1 million to some charity, which they own secretly. These people, as wealthy individuals, were expected to give back to society. Well, a lot of them chose science. They were very well educated, a lot of curiosity, and so Maunders decided, hey, you know what? Let's go buy ourselves a telescope, very expensive back then in the 1600s. Let's get the right filters for it, and then every day we will go and watch sunspots. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. Turns out that there were hardly any for a long time. So it wasn't maximum, minimum, maximum, minimum. It was maximum, minimum, then minimum. And then it came back up 70 years later. Well, what happened during that 70 years? Well, first of all, they called it the mini ice age. They actually had a term for it in Europe. They called it the mini ice age. And the mini ice age lasted for about 70, 75 years. At which point, you could do something that no one had ever seen before in London. You could walk across the Thames River. The Thames River froze over so hard that the ice was so thick that they actually had a winter fair out on the Thames River in the middle of the Thames with all kinds of carnival stuff, and it was a hoot. Now, the thing that wasn't a hoot was that crops failed worldwide because the temperatures dropped by several degrees centigrade. And so the estimate is 50 to 70% of the population of Europe starved to death during the 75-year period. In fact, now this isn't something that the International Panel on Climate Change can discuss because it makes them look foolish. Because clearly, my fucking Ford truck did not make that happen, nor did it make the environment spike back up after 75 years. Well, what the fuck happened? The sun. Ugh. The sun. The same thing that people have worshipped for its life-giving energy for tens of thousands of years. The thing that makes me angry is that the more I realized what was going on, the more I realized how truly evil this plot was. I can't blame you for what the sun does. I can't tax you for that. I can't make you do anything. I can't manipulate you. But what if climate change isn't because of the sun? What if it's your fault? You're the reason. Well, you're going to have to help me fix it. You can't fix it alone. But if you give me half of half of all the money you make every year, if you allow me to own your house in perpetuity, oh, your name's on the title, you pay off the loan. Who gives a shit? Don't pay your taxes. I'm there 2 years. It's mine. I'm never going to allow you to own anything. And the reason is I need all of your resources and all of your money so I can protect you. Protect me from what? Climate change. Well, what if it was an ice age? Well, how the hell am I supposed to protect you from that? Tell everybody to go light fires and keep the earth warmed up? But actually do exactly the opposite. All the particulates in the air would actually be bad. As a matter of fact, during COVID, the earth warmed up. You know that? During COVID, because there was such a complete lack of industrialization worldwide, everything shut down. All the factories, all the smog, all the pollution, it all shut down during COVID. And the particulate matter in the atmosphere dropped dramatically overnight. I mean, all that crap that's floating around in the air settles. Well, it settled. And after it settled, within a couple of weeks, the earth started getting hotter. Yeah. Why would it get hotter? Well, because there wasn't as much shit in the air, so more radiation and more heat managed to make it to the ground. Wow. That's crazy. What? Get out of here. Scouting Bob, are you kidding me? Wait a minute. There's a reverse thing? Hold on. What's this? Flip camera, are you shitting me? No, that's not it. Okay. That's reverse camera. Okay. Mirror your video. Wait. Look at that. Scottsdale Bob, I want you to send me your info in a direct message. I'm going to send you one of my books for free. And I'm going to sign it saying Thank you. I don't feel like an idiot anymore. Well, that's true. I still feel like an idiot, but just for other reasons. Awesome. Glitch inside and beyond the data. Interesting. So, yeah, my next book will be all about this. But the book that I just wrote is because the grid's going to go down. It has to. Look, it's nobody's fault. Okay. Well, thank you, Deborah. And yes, I will sign it. Not that that means anything. It's so fun when I catch myself saying shit like, hey, want to be my follower on TikTok? I'm like, what am I, Jesus? I'll get followers. Whoa, get 12 followers. I got 120,000 followers. Huh. I wonder if that means anything. It doesn't mean anything. Never mind. I'm not even going to finish the sentence because my ego already started to make my head hurt. That's how fast it's growing. So, um, yeah, the very things made me feel so good. Damn. Wait, am I more handsome this way instead of being reversed? I think I, that's, that's like asking me, is it warmer today when you're standing at the North Pole? Eh, it's really degrees of shit. Looks like your YouTube. This does. The YouTube's much brighter, and I don't know why, but it's a super duper 4K camera. So if you want to see, do I actually have a bunch of wrinkles? You can go on YouTube. And no, I don't. How's my bowel health? Let's see. I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, like, you know, it's nothing where I go, gosh, wish I could have done that in the last 2 weeks. Although I know people like that. Oh God, I feel so bad for them. No, that's like, ugh, I can't even imagine. That would be terrible. Um, thank you very much. Okay, so let's back up. Let's go in reverse for a second and let's redo this so that I can. Because again, I didn't want to sound. Let me rethink that. No, I don't really care if I sound like I'm crazy. Okay, let me. Yeah, I don't really give a fuck. But what I want is I want to make sure that they reach as many people as possible with this information. So if I sound like a babbling idiot, it's not going to help people. If I can put this in a cogent, coherent format where they go, okay, where are we at? We're starting here. Okay. And then the time they're done, they go, oh shit. Yeah, he's totally made a really good point. So, one of the comments it got sent, it says, total collapse, total system collapses. And I don't think that anymore. I used to think that. I used to, oh, they just want to get rid of the people. But, it's a funny thing about the Matrix. In some weird ways, it's very accurate. And most people spend their lives being worthless to you or to me in a lot of ways. But they're not worthless to the machine. They're not worthless to the billionaires. They are, in their own tiny speck of a way, they are valuable. They serve a purpose. Now, they'll be expendable in a sense because, AI will do some of the tasks for them. But it's, when you say, well, okay, but what about the people who have real jobs? And I say real job, I don't consider coding a real job, but what about welders? What about pipe fitters? What about steam fitter? People like that. Their job is guaranteed for a long time. Robotics is not good enough to just say, "Oh, I'll send my robot out." I'll send my robot out to do what? Oh, to fix the HVAC system on your roof. All right, let me see your robot climb a ladder and walk across that pitch, especially if it's been raining, it's wet, whatever. So, there are a lot of things people are still going to be very good at for years and years. However, there are a lot of people that don't really do anything except serve the greater good. Yeah, machinists will be around for a long time. That it's one of those things where the adjustments that guys like that make, sometimes it's absolutely mechanical, but sometimes it's almost like intuition that they that they fix things, that they get that last micron correct. But anyway, the point is that there are a lot of people that I'll give you an example. Could there be $100 billion people? Farming is a good example. Could there be 100 billionaires all around the planet if there weren't billions of people on the planet? Would Amazon make him worth whatever, 150, $200 billion, whatever it's worth now? No. There's not that many people that can use his product. So the more people you have as one of those top tier 1/1 millionth of 1%, the better off you are. So planning for their demise would be stupid. That is the engine that feeds your absolute hegemony over all Earth. The ability for you to say, like Elon Musk, I will be a trillionaire before I die. Well, I imagine Undertaker's, that's probably something that, I don't know if everybody wants to do that. I think I'd have robots do that anyway, just because it's something about it. It's not a fun job. But my point is that I want everybody to understand that while maintaining the status quo, because you have to maintain the status quo. What if everybody in the country knew that the amount of spending on social systems was getting cut dramatically so that the powers that be could build themselves bigger, more well-equipped, safer underground cities to live in during this solar event? No, people wouldn't go for that. They're instant revolt. Worldwide, people would revolt. Okay, so how do you plan as a government? How do you plan for this absolutely irrevocable truth without having panicked all the peasants? Well, you keep pissing away money on things that are exactly the opposite. Wait, like climate change? I mean, that's a good way to get trillions of dollars out of the peasants. I mean, you know, let's take a look. I'm kind of curious. I'd really love to know the answer to this. How many trillions of dollars have been spent on climate change? Oh my God. Well, the estimate that they want going forward is $266 trillion. What they've already taken from us is $20 trillion in the last 2 decades. The global climate spending exceeding $2 trillion per year. Do I have to say anything more? Do I have to say any more? $2 trillion a year. And what have we accomplished? If you ask them, they'll tell you not enough. Give more. Not enough. It's all bad. Not enough. We've got to do more. if we're spending $2 trillion a year, and I mean, you think about that for a second. $2 trillion on something that I can tell you for a fact, after over a dozen years of actually looking at real numbers, not watching Rachel Maddow, not watching CNN, not watching Fox, not listening to Donald Trump, actually going to the IPCC's website, actually looking at NOAA's numbers, actually seeing the disingenuous nature of their predictions, which, by the way, have never been correct. The IPCC has 104 climate models that they could use. They chose the four that were the most alarmist and used those. They actually have dozens of climate models that show the climate not changing at all or getting colder, but they refuse to use those climate models. Even though they're based on the same science, they don't use them. Why not? Because it doesn't serve the purpose. We're here to alarm you, not to charm you. So if you think about this for a second, it's stunning that they've been able to do this. Okay, so we're trying to fix the climate, because long term we have to fix the climate. Long term, over the next 100 years, we have to think about the fact that, what about your kids? What about your grandkids? Well, what about the electric grid? Oh that's neither here nor there, really. No, it's a global issue. Yeah, but global warming. Okay, you guys don't call it that anymore. Oh, yeah, we don't call it that anymore. Okay, why don't you call it global warming anymore? Well, technically the globe's not warming. But every year I see at the same time all of the news reports come out and they go, this was the hottest year on record. Does that mean that every single news agency in the entire fucking world is lying, just straight up getting on camera, looking into the camera and lying? No, they're not. They're not. Okay. So how is the world not getting warmer if every year is the new hottest year on record? Because if you look at the overall weather patterns worldwide, and you take, because remember, if you look at the hottest temperatures in the middle of the day, and then you look at the lowest temperatures at night, if you combine them, what you get is very different. What they're doing is they're looking at the highest temperatures of the day worldwide, and they're saying, are these temperatures on average slightly hotter than last year's? Yes, absolutely, that's true. Okay, but so you're looking heat records around the world. Oh, yeah, a bunch of them. Have you broken any cold records around the world? As many? More? You broken more cold records than heat records? Yeah, actually we have. So wait a minute, wait. The other thing that they do, which I love, when IPCC talks about their climate models, They don't talk about the fact that they have over 100 climate models. They ignore most of them. All of them are based on good science. All of the climate models are based on good science. They ignore the ones that show the Earth cooling or staying the same. And they only use the ones that show the world getting hotter. And by the way, they just admitted this 2 weeks ago. They just came out and said, okay, well, yeah, we kind of over exaggerated a bunch. It was an accident. Oh, well, it's interesting how the only accidents they ever make are in their favor, giving them more funding and more people more scared. And they said that in, I believe it was 1998, when they came out with the estimate for the global warming, and it was completely wrong, by the way, utterly wrong. At the end of 2015, when people started talking about the fact that, look, your predictions were utterly wrong. Like, not only it did not get hotter by the amount, it got colder by twice the amount that you predicted it getting hotter. How could you possibly fuck this up so badly? Do you know what their excuse was? I read it. They didn't take into account La Nina. You didn't take into account one of two major climate cycles in the largest body of water on Earth. And what holds heat or cold better than fluid? Air? I don't think so. So during the period they said that the globe was going to get much hotter, it actually cooled off. From 1998 to 2015, the global temperatures went down, not up. And we said, oh, it was just as we forgot to put that in La Nina. Oh, did you add in climate forcing from albedo? No. No. No, they underestimated the amount reflection of sunlight and heat from clouds. Think about this for a second. How many clouds are there in the world? How many clouds are there to cover the globe on any given day? When you look from space at a picture of Earth, there's a tremendous amount of cloud cover. They underestimated the amount of albedo from that cloud cover by 70%. That's shockingly stupid. That's so stupid that it can't be an accident. Well, the plastic island is a whole other issue. So that's the real issue. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about the real issue. See, climate change is really awesome because it distracts us from two things. Number one, the grid's about to fail. If it doesn't fail this summer, maybe next at the most. I mean, I'm absolutely certain the more homework I do, the more of these detailed things like this one, which I just told you guys was the commission on commission to assess the threat of the United States from electromagnetic pulse EMP. Now they also say that not just an EMP, but a solar event, because an EMP and a solar event are very similar. They are slightly different. Those of you who are electrical engineers are about to go, and it's not the same thing at all. Close enough. They're very similar in most important ways. So their point is we're extremely vulnerable in all the worst possible ways. Okay, so let's get rid of that one and let's go to this one. This one's really good because this one was really not supposed to be for public consumption. Department of the Army, U.S. Army Operational Group, U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command. Subject: analysis and assessment of Gateway Project. Oh, wait, what the hell is this one? Oh, this is Project Gateway. This is different. Oops. Project Gateway is a little different. It's an interesting program. We'll have a different show about that one, but that one is very, very interesting. What the hell's the other one? I've got one from the Air Force. I've got one from the Department of Defense. Yeah, and look, is this what I'm going to do on Friday night? Late in these? Actually, now, yes. When I say grid, do I mean T&D grid? T&D? No, the power grid for the entire United States of America. Well, the entire world. Potentially the United States, but if the United States power grid goes down by itself, it could be the worst case scenario, believe it or not, because that means that other countries will immediately come in and immediately will start fucking with our politics and our government trying to take over. Who those people are, who knows? Could be China, could be Russia, could be the EU coming to help us with their UN troops, which are laughably stupid. But that's the worst case scenario, is that we get knocked to our knees by a solar outburst or EMP. If the solar outburst is big enough and it hits the entire world, which an X-40 would, then we all go back to 1840 together. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, we all go back to 1840 at the same time. And the reason I say 1840 is because in 1840 we didn't have cameras, we didn't have electrical lines, we didn't have any of that stuff. Were people able to survive? Of course. Easily. 1840s were a very good time. On the other hand, if you live in a major city, it will be apocalyptic. It will be absolutely like every horror movie you've ever seen. Well, El Real, it's exactly the same shirt. All they did was just remake it. Because they probably figured that at some point, even Led Zeppelin fans like to wash their shirts. And we probably ruined them. So they made the exact same shirt again. Then we go back to coal electric plants. No, Jeff, that is not how it works. It's unfortunately not at all how it works. See, if you build a coal plant or you revive one, you have to have transmission lines to send the electricity through, which we won't have. You have to have copper windings in the coal plant so that you can use the coal to heat the water, to turn the turbines, to spin up the generator, so to speak, and there won't be any copper windings because they will have melted. So, well, there won't be any data centers, but data centers will absolutely hasten the end of our grid. Why do you think? I mean, on the one hand, do I want more data centers? No, of course not. No, I don't want more data centers. And I have to use it for, like, okay, but what's the data? That's what I want to know. What data? for AI to make your life better. Bullshit. Bullshit. Name one thing the government's ever done since the day I was born to make my life better. Honestly, think about that for a second. What has the United States federal government done since, let's say, 1970? From 1970 to the year 1980, what did they do to make my life better? From 1980 to 1990, what programs did they implement that made my life better? From 1990 to the year 2000, what did they do that made my life better? And from 2000 to a quarter of a century later, what have they done for me that made my life better? What has the federal government done for me as a citizen to help me, to make me feel better, to make me enjoy my life or to feel safer? Is there anything, has the federal government done anything in the last 50 years, let's get a half a century, to make the people of the United States of America happier, safer, more comfortable with our lives, with our situation, with our rents or our home ownership or our car or anything? Nothing. The United States government has done absolutely nothing but lie, cheat, steal, and manipulate all of us through fear for my entire existence on this planet. I've never, ever in my life, I've never woken up in the United States as a citizen and said, oh shit, today's the day that goes into effect, whatever it is, name something. I have more freedoms and more rights than I had yesterday. I am a freer man today than I was yesterday. Has that ever happened in this country's entire 250-year history? Every day, they take something from us. All right, Deborah, what do you got? What have they given to me since I was born that made me better, that made me happier? The Voting Rights Act. Well, that didn't even affect me. Social Security. It won't be there if I ever need it. It's literally $100 trillion that they don't have. Okay, vaccines. A joke, right? Okay, you're agreeing with me. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're nothing. And that's the most amazing part. When you start to think about that, what are jobs? I mean, as Americans, we go tell people. I mean, even if people say, oh, you're full of shit, okay, maybe I am. But why do you think that? But here's the question that everybody has to ask. Because we have to boil it down. It's all Democrat, it's Republican, it's conservative, it's APAC, it's these guys over here, it's black kids that are doing all crime. Hey, those fuckers are in the same position we are. They're in the same boat. Now, there might be 3% of these youths or in New York youths that act this way, but the reality is we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. And that is, since we were born, what has the United States done to make our lives better? No, Carlos, I would say they actually made our lives worse by taking Mexicans away from us. We need Mexicans. I like Mexicans. Mexicans are cool. But do I want people from Eritrea or Eritrea, however you want to say it? No, I don't. Why? Because it's not about color. It's about culture. Fine. Go away. That's it. Go somewhere else. Don't be part of my culture then. Well, no, we got to be part of the culture. No, you don't want to be part of my culture. So if you don't want to be part of my culture, go away. That's it. Do I care? Look, do I care if somebody moves here from Africa? Hell no, I don't care. Do I care if they're a hardcore fundamentalist Muslim that believes in Sharia law? Oh, you bet your ass I care. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I care a lot. Because you're talking about somebody who absolutely, unequivocally, with no reservations, I can say does not fit in this country. Absolutely not. I know exactly what their culture is about. I know what they're willing to do to women and children. I know what they do to apostates. I know what they do, period. They do not belong in my culture. So I was here first. It's my country. You want to try to take it away? Okay. That's not going to work out well. That's a problem with the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, you guys, because you were colonial for so long, so many people in the UK feel like it's their responsibility because as colonizers they went into these countries where there were cannibals, or countries where 5-year-old girls were sold off by their fathers for money. And okay, so what you do? You conquered the country, and then what you do? You brought in rails for railroads, and you brought in telegraph and electrical systems, and you brought in toilets, and you brought in modern medicine. Okay, and then what happened? Well, eventually you left. And did you take all that shit with you? No, you did not. You left it all. All of the things that you did for that culture, regardless of whether or not they wanted you there, you left all those things behind. I said, oh, you reparations, but people in the UK seem to feel really guilty about how they ran around the world and modernized it. Now, did they do some unspeakable things? Yep, sure did. Did the people in that country pick them, do unspeakable things to each other before they got there? Yep, they sure did. So why is it that the United Kingdom has to feel so guilty about doing what everyone does for the entirety of history, that they have to allow their culture to be destroyed by a inferior culture? Can we call it what it is? Inferior. Yeah. Okay. So, and some people would say, no, it's superior. Okay, well, why? Well, because you can walk the streets of Kabul at night. Oh, okay. Without having to worry about being attacked. Okay. What about this? What about the fact that the Taliban, when they took over in Afghanistan, they said that they were going to enforce Sharia law. They also said that if a woman claims that she was raped, in order to prove that she was, 3 men have to testify that they witnessed it. Of course, if that's the case, you ask yourself, why would those 3 men not try to stop it? If they didn't try to stop it, why would they testify against the 4th guy who did it? Interesting. It's almost like that's an impossible situation. Mm-hmm. Now, let's turn that around, though, because keep in mind that any woman who has premarital, what, in Afghanistan is going to be executed. It's a absolute mandatory death sentence. And by the way, not by hanging, not by firing squad or lethal injection, by being buried up to her waist in the ground and having rocks not too small as to do no harm, and not too big as to kill her immediately. Medium-sized rocks thrown at her by an enormous crowd of people until she's dead. Stoning. If you say you were great, you have to also understand that if three men don't come forward to testify on your behalf, you can now be prosecuted for premarital sex. Which means if you're great in Afghanistan, you better keep your fucking mouth shut. Because if you don't, if you're married, it's adultery, you're dead. Same fate. And if you're not married, it's premarital sex, and you're dead. See how that works? Yankee was never here first. It's very interesting because now we're not sure who was here first because it looks like there remains all over the West Coast and South America. They go back tens of thousands of years. Tens of thousands. Turns out the people on Easter Island, they weren't stuck on Easter Island ever. They were going back and forth and having wives and children and husbands from Peru for at least 4,500 years that DNA can prove now. Wow. Stop lying. Who lied what? What's this? A wretched man needs God. Wow. What a title. That's crazy. Yankee was never here first. What does that mean? Want Sharia law in Texas? Well, not all of Texas. Okay, let's be honest here. They only want Sharia law in their very own city. They want to set up a city, kind of like the Haredi Jews did in is it Lakewood, New Jersey, where they have a completely Jewish city. They have their own Jewish city police department. They have their own. It's like some crazy number. 85% of them are on welfare and take food stamps, etc. And they have an average of 15 children, and they live off the government. Wow, that's just crazy. Let's see. What the Amish are doing in Pennsylvania, but the Amish are different. The Amish don't disallow anyone to live in Pennsylvania. The Amish don't disallow anything. The Amish are like, hey, this is our area, and if you want to live here, go ahead. But we don't necessarily want to do business with you if you're, yeah, New Jersey, yeah. There was a guy on YouTube. He's done a ton of documentaries about different crazy shit going on around the world and all over, and never had a problem. He did this documentary about how so many of these Jews in Lakewood, Pennsylvania, are ultra Orthodox, and they all live on welfare. None of them work because they all study the Torah and the Talmud for a living, and so they're all on welfare. And he was kicked off of YouTube, defunded instantly. His Patreon, everything gone. Boom. Don't fuck with Israel. Bottom line, they can't accept anything wrong. The thing is, it's not about not accepting it. It's that what they believe is that they're not wrong. Okay? Someone heard me just now that's never occurred to me before. Imagine all my wives' work. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't think Tyler said anything about that in his report. Wait, that's impossible. How do you have 15 kids and work? Nope, I don't buy it. All their wives cannot possibly work. These people are having literally between 10 and 18 children. Everybody he talked to, it was shocking. And and they just love it, man. don't have to do shit. They just live with the U.S. government. By the way, in case you hadn't heard, um, remember that commercial? 1-800 cars for kids. Cars for kids. Yeah. Well, guess what? I knew this a long time ago, and I just thought everybody knew, but it just blew up last week when California ruled their ads fraudulent. When you donate car to Cars for Kids, you have to understand they're not just kids. It's specifically Orthodox Jewish kids. Gentile kids don't get shit. Okay? Christian kids get a dime. Period. It only goes to Jewish children, and strangely enough, it was like all the Jewish grown-ups. And strangely enough, part of the 800 Cars for Kids thing, they bought a big commercial building in Israel. What? Yeah, it is a real monster. I mean, it ties right in with Lakewood. It's like, you want to talk about the people who are absolutely stealing the United States blind, just absolutely ripping us off at every turn, every possible way. It's them. So, it's sad. It is. I think that there's going to be a reckoning. You said to work since I'm 62. I'm a 62-year-old wife man. What? I'm a 62-year-old wife man who said to work since I was 9 years old. No one gave me a damn. Well, that's true. Look, Israel specifically, it's the Haredi, the ultra Orthodox Jews, who basically their attitude is, look, your job, the reason that you exist. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being funny or sarcastic or ironic. Your reason for existing is to serve them. Period. And that the best among you should be put to death or used as a slave until being put to death. Period. Now, I can tell you that I don't believe that, but I'd be lying because I actually have read all of the passages in the Talmud. And then people said, well, you took it out of context. So then I went back and I read the entire passage, some of which are boring as hell. But then in there, you start to see these patterns. In Islam, an apostate is to become an apostate, to switch religions, is absolutely against the law. God's law, Allah's law, period. There are no exceptions. In Sharia, it's a death sentence. To become an apostate is the worst thing that you can do because you literally know Allah, you know the Prophet Muhammad. You've turned your back on what you know to be true. You are the worst kind of human being there is. That is exactly how Jews feel about Christians. We started off as Jews. Jesus was a Jew who fucked it up royally, who made every mistake you could make, who accused them of things that were just absolutely satanic. Therefore, all of the people that were misguided by him and his lecherous, ugly lies, all of those people are being led on the same track to hell that he went on. Which is why when you look and you start to really dig into what these really, really powerful rabbis all around the world say about him, they say that they'll say the Nazarene, they'll say JC, they'll never call him Jesus Christ because Christ is the Messiah or Messiah, as they say. They'll never say that out loud, ever. They don't even use a plus symbol in ultra Orthodox schools because it too closely resembles a crucifix. And if you think that's a joke, look it up. Okay? I'm not trying to bullshit anybody. The bottom line is, I wouldn't have an opinion on this at all if it weren't so completely shocking to me. The more I dug, the more I found out, the more shocked I was. My understanding is limited. Wow, that's a pretty dumb thing to say to me. Because, yeah, you haven't watched me dig into subjects for 5 years and be right. But on this one, I'm wrong. Because your pastor said I was wrong. Your pastor, who, by the way, probably took a trip to Israel paid for by Israel, who was given all kinds of perks from Israel. Did you know that most of our police departments get to go over to Israel for a charge to be trained in Israel? Why? They don't go to Germany. They don't go to Brazil. But they go to Israel. Why is that? Imagine. You can't imagine. Bottom line is, the more you dig into the Talmud, the more shockingly hateful towards Christians it becomes. The point where you ask yourself, why do these people want anything to do with me? And the simple answer is, they don't. That's why when you have a Haredi community, it is completely sealed off from you. Go try to rent a house in the middle of their neighborhood. You can't do it. You cannot do it. By the way, for those of you who think that I'm an idiot with no experience in this, I grew up in Hollywood and Beverly Hills. Yes, there's a southern part of Beverly Hills that has a fucking wire all the way around it. All the way around it, because there is a Haredi ultra-Orthodox community. And if you want to be a part of that community, nope. What, you just want to hang out with them? What if you want to ask them questions? None of your business. None of your fucking business. Well, I just want to know what you guys think. Nope. That's funny. The bottom line is that, yeah, it's a group of extremely hateful people who has a few uses for us temporarily, and when they're done with us, they'll do what you do with any old dumb farm animal. You know, it's really strange. It's a very strange belief system, and you know, when I was in that area, I mean, I used to live at Pico and Robertson. Now, for those of you who don't know, you don't know. But for those of you who know the area, you know Pico and Robertson, and that is like this far, the center of that Jewish community. Yep, sure is. As a matter of fact, I lived 1 block south of Pico and half a block west of Robertson. Now that, if you look it up, you'll get a real hoot. You know why? Because the Jewish center was literally across the alley. Across the alley. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm going to look this up on Google Earth. I haven't looked in so long. This is going to make me laugh, I can tell. Because There's some really good pastry places, by the way. There's some damn good pastry places. Oop, geez, I can see the earth from here. That's that. I think I went a little too far there. All right, let's just zoom right in here. Culver City, almost. Century City, getting close. Beverly Hills. Here we go. Doheny. I'm getting close. Almost on. Robertson. And Willis. Oh, I'm way north. Robertson and Pico and Robertson. Oh my God! Across the street, I didn't know this. The Mahadin kosher shock. What the hell that means? But it's a kosher place for. Is it? Yeah, religious goods store. That's funny. Um, okay, let's see. This is funny. I talking about that. And the reason I bring this up is because I used to say hi to all these people. Say hi to everybody. I'm friendly. Um, and but boy, oh boy, they were standoffish. Benoni David Judaic Congregation, Orthodox Synagogue. Hell yeah, baby, that's right there. And I was, wow, it hasn't changed at all. Rabbit's Coffee is right there at the corner. So let's see which one is my building. It's the first one. What is it? No, it doesn't seem like it's the first one, but I think they changed it slightly. Oh no, there was a parking lot behind. Yeah, it was the first one. So I was actually at one end of the block, and they were the was right about, maybe not then. I think it was right behind me was a kosher deli, Schwartz's Kosher Deli. A couple doors down, Schwartz's Kosher Marketplace. I don't think Amy's a fan of gefilte fish. I don't see how you could be. How is it possible you would want that? Well, green cleaners, Jesus, they've been on the corner forever. Yep, there it is. A really boring looking building. And yeah. Yep. That's so crazy. I forgot about that. They literally walk around and they would not talk to you. Like I say hi, smile, and just look through you like you weren't there. I just always thought that was weird. I mean, no, I'm in Phoenix now, which I love being in Los Angeles, but it's got to the point now where it's just there's not enough good to justify how truly shitty it's gotten. Like unless there's something I don't know, unless all of the hoorah is bullshit about how expensive it is, unless that's not true, and it's still just expensive because it's always been expensive, but you know it being expensive was always offset by the fact that it was fun. It was just a blast. But how long can it stay fun when you're spending $2,500 a month on a tiny studio apartment? That's stupid. And if you're gonna spend $2,500 a month on something, go buy a house, but not there. That's the issue. 805. Well, I lived there for a long time. 805 466, which is Cascadero. Lived in Morro Bay for a while. Lived in the Cascadero. Beautiful, beautiful places. 805 is very different. 805 is the real world. You know, it's the part of Los Angeles. Excuse me, the part of, of California is actually still California. A lot of people don't understand that. They really don't get the fact that there are parts of California that are not only wild, but some of the most beautiful wilderness in the world. I hiked from, where are we at here? I hiked from Dunsmuir, California, which is, where's Dunsmuir? There it is. I hiked from Dunsmuir, California, all the way up to Ashland, Oregon, 200 miles. When I was Mia Bay, Washington. Mia Bay. Bay. Where is that? Is that inside the Straits of Juan Fuca? Where the Straits of Juan Fuca? I'm sure I said that right. San Juan Island. Straits of Juan Fuca. Where are they? Shit. Huh. Tip of Olympic Peninsula. Oh, neat bay. There it is. Oh, shit. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, like that. That's one of the ads for a place to stay, an apartment is stupidly expensive, $300 a night, but it shows the aurora borealis. The Macaw Cultural and Research Center. Interesting. How are we up there? Bins, burgers, and seafood. You know, I would make fun of that place, except I can't because in a place like a little town, California is absolutely beautiful. You'll never live in a place that's prettier than California. It just can't live in Southern California. Okay, I mean, let me back up. If you just want to ignore everything except the last 100 yards between you and the ocean, then move to somewhere in, I'm going to say either San Diego, like Pacific Beach, and just, or Ocean Beach, and ignore all the homeless people. Ignore the bullshit. Yes, you cross the line. Then, or go to Ventura. Well, they fucked up a perfectly good state. Fucked up the best city in the world. That's what they did. Los Angeles, when I was born, watch riots, all that bullshit. I mean, there's always an issue, but the reality is this: it was the home of the aerospace industry. It was the home of hot rodding and draggers and all kinds of shit. I mean, it's where Shelby made the Cobra for a reason, because that kind of shit happened all the time. It was a place. No, I had to round Mount Shasta. That was weird. But it was the coolest city in the world, because you go from this aerospace, this hot rod mentality of let's build something out of scraps and take it to the Bonneville salt flat and see if we die. All right, man. Obviously, being a World War II fighter pilot affected your brain. Let's do that. And then, of course, it's always Hollywood. None of us knew how fucked up or wicked Hollywood was. We didn't know in the 70s or 80s. A lot of us didn't realize, how just horrible the fucking people there were. So, and the beach culture. And the beach culture was not like Hawaii. Hawaii is almost laid back to the point of lazy. Like the culture there is just very like whatever. Okay, well, what are you gonna do today? Whatever, you know? And didn't dig that. I didn't dig the culture there. But in California, it was go surfing in the morning and then go do your crazy ass high tech job or whatever later. And unfortunately, whenever you have that amount of success, it's a curse. People start to take advantage of it. People being the politicians. Well, shit, everybody here makes so much money. They're not going to notice an extra 45 cent tax on this. Hell, everybody's so healthy here. Who gives a shit about a cigarette tax? Who cares about a tax on alcohol? Who cares about this? Who cares about that? Pretty soon, you're looking around and you're like, what the fuck's going on, man? Well, and the fact that, let's be honest, the biggest problem in Los Angeles is that if you are extremely wealthy, and this has nothing to do with people themselves, so don't think I'm being racist here, because I'm not. If you're extremely wealthy, you live in Iran, and you got the fuck out of there, 79, where do you live? Michigan? Fuck that. You're going to move to Orange County. And I don't blame you. You're in Vietnam, okay? End of the war, you're a refugee. You get set on a fucking carrier with 5,000 other people who don't have shit. And you get sent to this place on the other side of the ocean where nobody speaks your language. Of course, you all group together in this little place called Garden Grove or Westminster, or what have you, in Orange County, California. And you get in, you work your ass off, and what? Make a fucking ton of money. Because your work ethic is just insane. Because you literally got with nothing at all. Zero. Maybe not even an extra pair of underwear. And you look around and everybody's so freaking rich, and you're like, okay, I want a piece of this. But do I blame you for that? Hell no. Welcome to the party, partner. That's the American way. What about people from India, Pakistan? What about people from Africa? What about people from China? The whole fucking world wants to live in Orange County. Well, you can't all live in Orange County. Why not? It's the most beautiful weather in the world. Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, it's sunny 330 days a year. But the temperature never goes above about 85 or 90 ever. Okay. Most mornings it's 60 degrees in the morning, and it's 80 degrees in midday, and it's 60 again at night. It's sunny, yeah, but it doesn't get up to 100. No, never. But it's super, 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 like rain. It's super humid. Not really. A little bit by the ocean. So, my God, this is the most beautiful place on earth. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. No question that it is the most amazing weather, the most amazing climate, and really a beautiful, beautiful place to live. Well, shit. How long is it going to take for that to get ruined? It's not really ruined. Look, man, you want to live in Orange County. You want to have you want to really have fun. You want to live in Irvine with everybody else. You want to go behind what we call the orange curtain, where it's all Republican and rich. Great. Go get yourself a $500,000 job. $500,000 job. No, I'm not fucking kidding. Or you can be an anesthesiologist. They make about $180 to $200 per year. And your wife or your husband can be one also. Now go live in Orange County. Get yourself a nice little house, and life is good. Live in San Diego. Live wherever the fuck you want. But give them $500,000 a year going first. And if you don't have it, don't move there. That's the problem with Orange County. It's too good. So now you got a lot of people, and by the way, unfortunately, initially, I know it's going to sound very strange. Initially, when we got invaded by the Armenians and we got invaded by the Iranians, it didn't really seem like there was any issue at all. I know that sounds crazy, but they were all so cool. Everybody was cool. They wanted blue jeans and Budweiser, and they just wanted to be Americans. And it was like, wait, you Muslim? Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty much. Oh, all right. So that's cool. But they just wanted to blend in. They wanted to be a part of us. You know? Did they have a mosque? Yeah, they had a mosque. Did they teach people to do radical, horrible things? No. They wanted to be a part of this culture. The people who are coming here now apparently aren't really as interested in that. Well, that's sad. Why would you want to come here then? Money. But what about the people? We hate the people. You hate the people in my country? Well, it's not really the people, it's your culture. Oh, so you hate your culture. Yeah, we hate your culture. But you still want to live here. Yeah, and if we can build our own city in the midst of you, and then we don't have to deal with you except to suck uh, money out of you. If we can get your resources and not have to touch you or look at you or listen to your disgusting ideas about life and humanity, yeah, we'd love to be here. Okay, that's going to be a problem. And it is. It is a problem. Bottom line, you know, do you have the right to change my culture to fit what you want now that you've moved here? Well, I mean, you know, there's attraction and there's promotion. Unfortunately, neither one of which works with some of these old school deals. Multipolar is now the new world order. America is done. Well, I'm really talking about America from the standpoint of, you know, what America? Oh, America is this piece of land right here. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is multiculturalism is a lie. Multiculturalism is a joke. And multiculturalism is typically the last battle cry of very, very weak people who are about to get subjugated, who are about to get shown how completely, totally wrong they are. Because if you think that you being nice is going to lead to the Taliban being nice back, that's almost idiotically funny. Well, what about all the gays in Palestine? That's sad. Now, Iran has an interesting way of handling this. I don't know if you guys do this or not, but if you're gay in Iran, you have two choices. You can either be hung from a crime, or you can undergo sexual reassignment. I'm not kidding. Ayatollah Khomeini was approached by a transgender man who said, "I am a man, but I'm attracted to men. Therefore, I believe that the Quran commands me to change my sex if possible. And there are surgeries that would allow that. So I'm a woman, but I'm trapped in a man's body. Would you allow me, in terms of the government, would you allow me to change to a female body?" And the Ayatollah Khomeini sat down with his scholars and they went to the Quran and they said, uh, yeah, I mean, you're not gay, you're a woman in a man's body. So if you change the body to a woman's body, then yeah, you're good to go. You're fine. And so that was literally that's the law. So if you come out and say in Iran, I'm gay, okay, would you rather have the sexual reassignment, or would you rather be hung by the neck until death? That's it. And that is the absolute law in Iran right now. It has been since 1982 or 83, I believe. Jeez, you're like an idiot, man. Shut up. Are you drunk? Are you drinking tonight? Because literally, I wouldn't be saying this if I hadn't studied it. Do you think I'd be saying something nice about Ayatollah Khomeini? Like, oh, he decided in his infinite wisdom, because he's such a nice person, to give gay people an opportunity to become transgender. You realize, of course, if that means that you get caught doing something with another man and you don't want a sex change operation, you have to get one anyway, or you'll be killed. So it's not really a super end all be all answer for everybody. It's actually for a lot of people, a lot of men in Iran, it's a worst case scenario. They don't want to be a woman. They don't want to go through the gender reassignment. But they have to. They get caught by the police or by whoever. And once you're caught, it's like, okay, so are you gay? Or are you a woman trapped in a man's body? Got two choices. Damn, that's a rough one, man. It's a strong malt liquor. That's fun. All right, guys. Well, it's 9:30. I think we covered the good going down pretty thoroughly. I think I will come up with a long form for YouTube. I think that's what I'm going to do, is come up with a long form class about why I think that the grid won't last. Because I've got friends that are very specific in what they believe and why, and etc. My buddy Ben is suspicious observers. Ben and I have been buddies for a long time, and he believes what he believes for a very specific reason, and it's sort of, it's different, but I don't disagree with it. But it's one of many things that I'm studying. So I believe that if his version comes to pass, he's absolutely right. But I believe that there are other alternatives that are just as dangerous, and that's the problem. Morality God. That's funny. Yeah, the thing is that I don't actually think I'm the morality God. I think that I just told you that you said it's BS. Now, if you were saying that you thought what I was saying was bullshit, it's not. If you're saying that what you think that the Ayatollah is doing is bullshit, I agree with you. Although, I will say this: compare your choices. Because in Islam, if you're Sunni, if you're caught with your pee in something there where it shouldn't be, you're a dead man. The amount of executions last year might surprise you. How many public executions were there in the last 10 years in Saudi Arabia? When I say public, I think maybe Tom might be a good guy to, because it seems like Tom's been around a little bit doing his SAS stuff, so he might be able to weigh in on this. Saudi Arabia has carried out over 2,000 executions in the past decade, with human rights organizations tracking more than 2,100 confirmed cases. However, the exact number of public executions remains unknown, as the Saudi government does not systematically disclose the locations or methods for every sentence carried out. So it could be a lot higher than that. Could be a lot higher. But the reason, capital offenses, let's see, capital offenses. Number one, apostasy. If you are a Muslim and you leave Islam, let's say you hear the truth of Christ, and you say you don't want to be a Christian. Oh, believe me, John, we're just getting started. We're getting started. Let's see, apostasy, treason. Oh, number three, homosexuality. Just behind apostasy and treason, ahead of espionage, murder, and rape. So, wow. I mean, although they do actually list officially sorcery and witchcraft. Well, now you know why people want to live in Orange County and not along the coast of Red Sea. I don't want to say anything bad about Saudis and their wonderful, beautiful country, their beautiful way of life, their sweet, kind, God-loving religion of peace. Islam is a religion of peace. I know, because Muhammad told me so. And by the way, you don't believe that? Cut your fucking head off. 19 of the 23 hijackers of 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, man? Fucking Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Dow's over 50,000. What the fuck you trying to say, man? Hey, those are our allies, dude. Petrodollar, okay? Hegemony. We own this fucking planet. So yeah, that's why Saudi Arabia has a criminal justice system based on Sharia. Sharia. Wow. Oh. John, it's a good thing you got out winner. You wouldn't have made it out because they have very, very, very little respect for women. Now, I don't like dogs. That's a fact. Muslims don't like dogs. But they really don't like women. Let's see. I'm wondering are you guys going to break this down for me? How many people were on the central square of the kingdom's capital, Riyadh, became known in the West as Chop Chop Square due to public executions there. By the way, a lot of our intel boys, spec ops dudes, whatever, they take the new guys. Without telling them, why don't they like dogs? They say the dogs are filthy. They shouldn't be allowed inside. There's a lot of reasons, but that's number one. They're filthy animals, which is totally crazy. But whatever. A lot of guys taken to Chop Square by the bosses just to sort of give them a little shock therapy. Like, hey, by the way, it's Friday afternoon. Hey, what's going on over there? Oh, look, public execution. One of the guys I saw on a podcast said that when he got there, this guy's not exactly what you call soft. He's a delicate guy, tough dude. These boys are not sissies. And he said he watched the public execution. He didn't really know what he was looking at first, but he saw it, and he said it. He puked. He absolutely puked. Never seen anybody get their head cut off before. Oh, that's how they execute everybody, with a sword. So these are our allies, by the way. These are our buddies. Yep. Yeah, man. Look, people don't understand the reason. One of the reasons that some tribes did extremely well at the end of the last ice age, and that some groups of people dominated others, was because of dogs. If you think that you're going to be a merry band of robber barons and thieves, and you're going to sneak up on a village that is full of something that looks like a wolf, you're not sneaking up on it. Period. So, no, you don't hear any of that. You don't hear that. And the thing is, if I did one thing that I want you guys to look into, that we really need to talk about more in this country, because of the Me Too movement. Because Me Too movement, it pissed me off so bad. I saw a girl sued Ben Alec, because she said that he touched her ass, and she said that the way he patted it, it seemed like it was intentional. So she sued him. This was her idea of women seeking justice. There are literally hundreds of thousands of female children around the world that have what's called genital mutilation done to them every year in Sharia and Muslim cultures, in Africa, in the Middle East, in Europe, in the United States. And it's typically done with a razor blade, and they go in and they actually cut out anything that is sensitive in between a little girl's legs. Typically, it's done to girls between 5 and 8 years old. I can't think of a better use for firearm in my life. I can't think of anything that I would rather be doing. And that to me is just stunning. It's absolutely shocking that, and the idea is, if you do that to a little girl before she becomes a woman, she won't have the wickedness that is still in all women, because women are all lustful, they're all lying, evil creatures. However, if you cut all that sensitive stuff off, and in some cases sew them shut to a certain degree, so that they'll have to have an operation later in order to have kids, then it's all better. That takes care of it. Because women are not supposed to enjoy being married. They're basically cattle, They're things that are owned by real humans, men, and that's it. I just got a violation for hateful behavior. I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy. It's not legal, Matthew. It's not legal at all. It's not legal in Europe, and it's not legal here. But then child brides are not legal in Europe or here, and it happens to people from places like Pakistan, Afghanistan, all the time. They still do it. They still, in Iran, it's perfectly legal. If a girl's 5 years old or older, she can be married, because it's what it says in the Quran. Now, I didn't know this. I thought that the Quran said Aisha was 8, and he consummated his relationship with her, his marriage, at 11. But apparently I was wrong. It says that she was 5, and he didn't consummate the marriage until she was 9. So if that's what it says in the Quran, then that's what the law says. And in Iran, that is the law. You may marry a girl at 5 years old. And then consummating the marriage is up to you. Whenever you want, it's your property now. Do whatever you want with it. just make sure that for blowing a kiss. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that's something that, when it comes to who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, boy, it gets convoluted the more you know. That's a fact. So anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will put together some. By the way, if you want to buy my book, you can buy it here, or you can go on YouTube. And there's yeah, it's not it's not on my homepage yet, but it will be tonight. So I'll see you guys soon, and I will talk to you tomorrow night. You guys have a great what's what I'm looking for? Memorial Day.